Hello, everybody in live stream STL land. This is Jeff Whitener for the Main Street Sports Show. I'm joined with my partner in crime, Ray Halbrook. And ladies and gentlemen, in 2024, I did not have interviewing head football coach Lee Freeman on my bingo card. But here we are, pleased to bring Lee back into the fold here on the Main Street Sports Show. Lee, you were one of our very first guests when we started this back in 2019. So welcome back to Coaching High School Sports.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Just a little background for folks who may not know, new to the area. You were the head coach of the Hillsboro Hawks for, I believe, 6 seasons, I think, 2014 to 2019, something like that. Had a compiled a record of 45 and 26 over at Hillsboro. Also coached a little bit at Poplar Bluff before you came up here. You're back to your playing days, all conference lineman for Hillsboro, and played guard and center at Southeast, I believe, Southeast Missouri State. Is that correct?
Yep.
All right. And also have a bustling gig going at the side, owner of Lee's Lawn and Landscaping business.
That's also correct. Yep.
Were you able to dodge the weather and get out and do some of that work today?
Yeah, actually, it ended up being pretty nice today. So we got a little bit of work done all the way across the board for as far as football is concerned and for the business. So yeah, pretty excited about both.
Good to hear it. It's Coach. Let's address sort of the $64,000 question right off the bat here. You know, being a high school football coach can be sort of this all consuming endeavor as far as time and stress. Talk a little bit about your decision to walk away from the game back in 2019 and what has rekindled your desire to return to the game.
Well, I think if we all remember back to that particular time period, there was a lot of things going on in the world that maybe we weren't ready for. Unfortunately, I lost my mom that year. There was a lot of things going on just as far as how things were, kind of rolling out and transpiring and getting ready to go into that 2020 season. And I decided that I was probably not the person for the job as far as getting through that was concerned. I had some different focuses and needed to really, do things my way, as far as my own life was concerned. So I had to make some tough decisions, and with the help of my wife, we made those decisions, and we started our own, we started down our own paths. So together. By the way, that sounded like we were divorced, but we're not. So I don't want to get anybody. No, my wife and I are very happily married. And, so with her support, we decided that I would go into business for myself and kind of explore those options. And I coached in 2020 for Fox High School with Coach Tinker, who's a very good friend of mine, and we had a decent run that year. Class 6 state semifinal team, and had some really good players and enjoyed the time. But then after that season, I had kind of come back to it and said, am I really done or not? And after that 2020 season, I decided that I really was done. Sat out for a couple of years, and we focused on ourselves and focused on just the world around the Freeman household, and talked to Coach Tinker early in the year, around January, and said, "Hey, if you've got a spot, might be interested in coaching again," because I kind of had the itch a little bit, and watched a lot of football. And my son is coaching football at Southwest Baptist University down in Bolivar, and so talking with him, and just kind of he gets the juices going a little bit, and then this opportunity came up at Windsor, and I guess, as they say, the rest is history.
Yeah, what you coach as an assistant coach with Coach Tinker there for that season. So you kind of got your feet wet back a little bit there, and then decided to step away. But what was it about the Windsor job or the Imperial community? What was it about this job that really appealed to you?
Well, I can, there's multiple things. So As far as the community is concerned, I've always found it an intriguing place. Even as a coach, an opposing coach, and going to play Windsor, always felt like the fans were very supportive. Always felt like the crowd was in the game. Always felt like there were a lot of people around, and you need those support systems as far as football is concerned, and really any other sport. So I always found that intriguing. And then also, um, regardless of the outcome of those games, we had to be prepared. There were, Windsor always has, some athletes that can beat you. So, if you travel back with the Williams kid and with the Fouts kid, and there's multiple athletes through that program in the last decade that really are impressive kids. So as far as having athletes is concerned, I know they're there. They may not be playing at the moment, and we're going to try to rectify that. But I think that in my mind, it's always been an intriguing place.
Well, sure. That's and I agree with you there. We've had a lot of luck with Livestream STL, of course, in the community there. Over at in Barnhart there, Case and Bucks is one of our big sponsors. We do a lot of our shows over there, so we know that fan base is there for Windsor. It's just kind of getting them over the hump to where they can be at the level where they can compete consistently with a Hillsborough or a Festus. But we'll talk about that a little bit here. But I know it's early yet, Coach. But have you started, taking a dive into evaluating the returning roster for the Owls to see who they have back? And have you conferred with Coach Funston, who is stepping down, by the way, about the team, or have you watched any video yet?
Actually, yeah. So Coach Funston is in a kind of a unique situation. First of all, I've met him, talked to him multiple times so far, and I can't say enough about the character of that gentleman. So as far as he is concerned, he's been extremely helpful in the transition, and he decided that he does want to stay on staff. So I'm happy about that. I think it's going to be a good relationship, and I think that he can kind of help me and fill in some things and fill in some gaps that maybe I'm unfamiliar with. I also, as soon as this was official, was able to talk with him. We've got some film set up, and I was able to go through the games from last season already, and like I said, in watching the game film, there's a few mistakes here and there that kind of get the ball rolling in a negative way, and then maybe you don't overcome those mistakes, and sometimes just one mistake snowballs into a few more, and then you have a lopsided game, or you have a loss that maybe shouldn't have went that way, or there's a lot of things that transpire. But as far as I was able to meet the kids today, and had a good chat with them, and I do think that they're excited. I think that they're nobody wants to have more success than I want for them, but I think that they can match my desire for that. So all we're going to ask is that we get everybody out, and they show up and they work hard, and as long as their attitude is right and the focus is great, then I have a very positive outlook as far as things are concerned. And if I didn't think it was worthwhile, I wouldn't be in this position right now. So, basically what I can say is that, I don't know how many of these things are going to transfer to wins and losses, but I know that we're going to work hard, and we're going to try to prepare our kids the best that we possibly can to have some success.
Well, it's great news that you were able to meet with the kids already this year today, and also great news that Coach Funston's staying with staff with you. Coach Funston has been great for Ray and I to work with here at Livestream STL, and we're happy to be able to continue that relationship along the way. Now, back to the team, they had a 4-6 season last year. The Owls did. They lost a bunch of players to graduation. I think over 20, I believe. But You've got the quarterback back, Landon Robbins. He returns for his senior year, as well as A.J. Patrick, the leading receiver and leading rusher, I believe. Now, so you've got these guys you talked to already. You're starting to evaluate things. That first day of camp this summer, what is that process like when you really start to try to evaluate the talent, in offense, defense, all these positions?
Well, I think the evaluation period is going to probably happen before that. They're going to be in the weight room, every day that they can possibly be in there, between now and the time we actually start. So, seeing how they communicate with each other, see how they interact with each other, build some camaraderie. You'll find some leaders. Those guys are going to come through in the weight room also. So you can't hide being a leader. Those things just come out. So,
Sure.
everything that those guys are going to be doing from here forward will be under a microscope, and it'll be evaluated daily.
Well, so yeah, that process is already starting now, and knowing just the little bit I know about you and being a head coach before, that level of preparedness, it does not surprise me at all that you've started that process at this time. So looking at Windsor, they've always been sort of the bridesmaid for a lot of years in the conference. What's it going to take to get them to that level, the JCA large school conference, and give that Hillsboro and Festus a run for their money? And not only the players, but how can the community help with that?
Well, I think that there's probably not one thing that you can focus on. It's there's going to be a lot of things that are going to have to transpire, and but I think the main thing that we can do, as far as coaches and as far as players are concerned, and you control the things that you can control, and and everything else, you kind of have to block out. So here's what I can say. As long as we are strong enough to compete, so if we're in the weight room and we're doing the things we need to do there, and if we are in good enough physical condition, because if we have to have guys going both ways, or maybe they're going offense, defense, and special teams, whatever the case may be, that's not new to high school football. That's not new to me. We've had a lot of players do that in the past.
Sure.
But there is a level of conditioning that takes place, and there is a level of mental preparedness that takes place, and we need to make sure that we're mentally preparing our athletes for that, and we need to make sure that we're physically preparing them for those games. We're not gonna look onward to a Festus or Hillsboro game, because right now our focus is on the Windsor Owls, and we've got a lot to do before we get to those games. Now, I think if we can take care of the Windsor Owls, and if we can do those things that we need to do, everything else will kind of fall into place and take care of itself. So far, in my experience, every administrator in the building and at central office that I've had a chance to speak with is 100% supportive so far to this endeavor. So that's greatly important. It does start there in a lot of ways. So it makes our job a little bit easier as coaches, and it's certainly going to make life easier for players. I think that the next step, the next level of support is having parents that are supportive to their students. If they're a player and they're coming out and they're playing and they're doing all the things that we ask them to do, then really mom and dad's job is to cheer and support and clap from stands and just be around and do the things that mom and dad are supposed to be doing. And it doesn't have to be mom, dad. It's whoever's taking care of that kid. So I think that if everybody understands what their job is, and everybody stays in their lane, and everybody does what they're supposed to do, coaches coach, players place, officials officiate, those parents parent, I think if they all do those things, then we've got a puncher's chance.
Well, you just mentioned that, and answered that in a very holistic way. It's not just one thing that will change, change the culture, change the play, style of play, all of that stuff. But if you had to prioritize all of that into the number one challenge moving forward, what would that be?
Well, I think there's a misconception, maybe for some folks that there is a cultural issue, and I don't think, from what I've seen, I don't think there is a cultural issue. I think that uh, from everything that I've seen and everything that I have witnessed personally, that there's a group of kids that are excited and they want to play, and they're coming out and they're doing the things that they're being asked to do, and they actually, from my experience, they have a pretty good attitude about everything. So I don't think, you're going to have your issues here and there, but as far as
Sure.
building a culture is concerned, really it's more so adopting a mentality of the coaching staff that we're going to put together, and basically, following our philosophy on how we're going to do things, and teaching progressions, and making sure that we can get out on the field and play effectively by being, in the right spot, and being lined up, and controlling the ball, and being efficient in our offense. All of those things are going to help change that culture, that as people would know it, culture. But
Right.
as far as I don't see any negative things from the kids that I have met to this point. So that's not always the case. So I feel like we're pretty fortunate right now, with a good group of people coming back.
Excellent. That's good. Very good to hear, Coach. Now you've been away from the game, but you haven't really been away from the game. I mean, I know you're a football man, even from a casual standpoint and from a distance. But if you look at the game in the last 5 years at the high school level, has the game changed at all or evolved in that time that you're away from the game? Has anything changed, or the basics, still the same, or the offenses, defensive scheme still the same?
I would say that for the most part, you're going to see 90% of the same things. Everybody's going to have their own wrinkle that they want to put in, or something that they saw on a Saturday or Sunday, and some coaches, they'll try to implement those things the best that they can with the players that they have. But
Sure.
I think that football is one of the great equalizers, as far as sport is concerned. Um, there really is no new football. It's just presented in a different way. The things that are important in football, which are, it is the ultimate team sport. So if you can get 11 guys to do the same thing, and be together, and be united, there's a lot to be said for that. And that's when you see teams that may not be as talented as other teams physically, or athletically. That's when you see those teams beat a superior, team that, from an athletic standpoint. So I think that football comes down to effort, focus, and I think it comes down to really just simplify it to the point of, it's down to powder. I would say that it's about running, it's about blocking, it's about tackling. And when you can do those things better than your opponent, then you're going to have a shot.
It's hasn't changed since the Vince Lombardi uttered those same words back in the '60s, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're running out of cliches. I think, somebody's going to have to come up with something good
Well,
to really.
that's what us media type do. We try to invent new ways of looking at it. That's the same old thing, just to make it interesting to talk about.
I will say this, as far as offenses are concerned, you with the RPOs have been around for a while now, and I think people are becoming a little bit more efficient with them, and they're trusting them a little bit more. Um, an old guy, I guess, sometimes those things, as far as the rules are concerned, there's a gray area there. So, just trying to be able to navigate those rules and understand those things from a defensive standpoint, can make life a little bit hectic. But, again, I think that's why, we're fortunate enough we have good officials, and I think that they'll pick up on things that they need to pick up on. So, again, you just control the things you can control.
Right. And, it's good that you're starting on that journey now and are already getting involved. And to that end, Coach, we talked about Coach Funkston joining your squad, your staff. But have you been able to add anyone to your staff yet, or is that still going to be a work in process throughout the summer as you get ready for camp?
So I think we're really close right now to having everybody in the right place. We've got a few kinks to work out, and we'll probably be working on that, I would say, through the next 6 to 8 weeks. And then, hopefully by June, that everybody will be set and we'll have, everybody in a place that they need to be in. But, as far as I've been able to meet all of the coaches that were on staff, and, to me, and based on what I've had with their, based on what I've experienced with those conversations, again, I see a bunch of hungry guys, and I see a bunch of people willing to learn, and I see a group of I'll say young men, because they're all, most of them are younger than I am, but I think that you see a group of people that the kids really enjoy being around, and man, that's half the battle.
And that's good to hear coming from things at Windsor. I tell you what, we're in the middle of baseball season, spring sports season, but we got a little football news. I'm a football guy. You're a football guy. So we had to get you on here to talk a little football, even though it's early yet. I can tell you on behalf of Ray and I both in the live stream, we're very happy that you're back involved in the game at the high school level here in this area. And I'm looking very forward to see what you can do with the Windsor Owls this season. And we really, really appreciate you taking the time on your busy schedule to meet with us today here on Livestream STL.
I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm looking forward to doing anything I can to help you guys, and I appreciate anything that you guys will be doing for Windsor and our community.
Well, we appreciate that, Coach. That is Lee Freeman, the new head coach of the Windsor Owls, ladies and gentlemen, right here on the Main Street Sports Show on Livestream STL.